Batman's death in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League sucks, I already made a video on it. But what if I told you that I not only know how Rocksteady could have fixed Arkham Batman in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but could also actually give him a dignified role and death in this story? Now, the two obvious ideas is to 1. Not base this in the Arkhamverse, and 2. Not defeat and kill him like a bitch. In the Arkham games, Batman has been on the edge of death multiple times to the point he couldn't even hear Alfred and Barbara in his earpiece, and he still never gave up and made use of every ounce of energy he had left. And he would never just sit in one spot and give up waiting to get shot. So given what we have come to learn about Arkham Batman, this death makes no sense and he would not get taken out this way. And to be honest, no other Batman would either. He even conquered any attempts at brainwashing via Scarecrow and the Joker, so he wouldn't get brainwashed. Now what I think they should have done was swapped Wonder Woman's role with Batman. Because in the game that we got, Wonder Woman assists the Suicide Squad to take down the Justice League, but it would have made more sense if Batman helped them. Just think about it. These are Batman's rogues gallery, and Batman finds himself in a situation where he is forced to team up with the very villains that he has been putting away and even fighting in the Arkham games. That's something he never would have considered a possibility, but he would have to do it to save the Justice League. This would have been a great predicament that Batman would have found himself in. One that is very different from his previous adventures, with the difference being that the villains know his secret identity, and them knowing could potentially have led to some funny, threatening, hurtful, and even potentially heart-wrenching scenes where their personal tragedies and histories could potentially find some common ground. There are endless possibilities here, and that's just from a story perspective. From a gameplay perspective, this would allow you to play as Batman in certain parts of the story, as Batman's controls have already been fully developed and utilized in the Arkham games. They could easily be reused here, but with the appropriate amount of additions, such as managing a Suicide Squad team, and even using the Batmobile and even the Batwing to accomplish the mission. And development-wise, Batman should be easy to incorporate for Rocksteady of all people, as most of his game programming is already done, and Batman would find himself in a situation where he has to decide whether he should execute his precautionary plans to take out the Justice League, or if he can save them. And by the end, Batman could potentially sacrifice himself to stop Brainiac and save the League, therefore giving him a satisfying hero's death. Maybe even die with the Justice League and Bat family by his side, with even the Suicide Squad actually feeling impacted by his death. Something that they have always wanted, but not like this, as Batman would have helped and even saved them throughout the game's story. It would make much more sense to do this with Batman rather than having them collaborate with Wonder Woman, because we don't know this Wonder Woman, but we do know this Batman. Heck, they even could have allowed Batman to jump into the fight to try and take down Superman. Imagine having the Batman Arkham controls and gameplay, and even the Batmobile and Batwing, and using them to fight off Superman and the rest of the Justice League, in addition to commanding the Suicide Squad. That could have been so much more fun, rather than the generic loot and shooter game that we ended up getting. And that's what this game should have been called: Batman vs. the Justice League, or Batman and the Suicide Squad versus the Justice League. So switching the roles of the two heroes in this game, as well as adding those story, character, and gameplay beats, would have been the much better call for this game. It still wouldn't be ideal, but if this is the story they were going with, then incorporating Batman would have been the much smarter idea, and it would have opened it up to so much more interesting story and gameplay possibilities. But they didn't do that. They gave that role to Wonder Woman instead, and they didn't even do much with it. Over the course of the 15 years, we have gotten 5 games, a movie, and some comics for the Arkham Batman. We have been invested with this Arkham Batman for well over a decade, which is around the same amount of time people were invested in Iron Man and The Dark Knight. So if anyone should have gotten an honorable death and send-off in this game, it should have been Arkham Batman, not the Arkham Wonder Woman, who has no legacy in the Arkhamverse, and who we have only just met for the first time a few minutes ago. These writers really needed to get their priorities right, and on top of getting a more respectable death, she also gets much more respect in her bio. The rest of the heroes' bios are very short and trash-talked by the Suicide Squad, but Wonder Woman's, conveniently, is very long and completely intact, and is supposed to be written by Lex Luthor of all people. But Lex would never credit Wonder Woman like this and her people's attempt at getting rid of toxic masculinity. This is just the activist writers writing Wonder Woman's bio, and they're not even writing it in character, because if Lex did write a bio for Wonder Woman, he sure as hell wouldn't write this. But yeah, sure, we'll take a crap on the rest of the Justice League's bio, but not Wonder Woman's. And it continues. The activist, I mean Lex, even says that she is a hero, more so than any who surround her. Yep, and this is coming from a team that has Superman in it. The guy who is so good that he's constantly accused of being a Boy Scout. But no, Wonder Woman is more of a hero than any who surround her. I mean, you can clearly see the Wonder Woman favoritism here. They clearly had no respect for the male Justice League members and wanted to kill them off as quick as they could with not a care in the world. But as soon as it came to Wonder Woman, they were like, no, we can't just kill her off as quick as we can. We need to make it emotional, we need to bring the violin music in and give it time because she's a hero. We can't have the villain see her as the enemy. We can't have her bio be super short and torn to shreds by the villains. But what about the rest of the Justice League, you frickin' hacks? Your responsibility is to do justice to all of them, but you f***ed it up. Quite frankly, I think we have come upon another woke situation. This reeks of activist storytelling, the straight up bias, and it doesn't end there. Harley even tells her teammates,
"Don't embarrass me in front of her."
I mean, what sense does that make? They're just trying so hard to put Wonder Woman on a pedestal that they're doing it at the expense of the story and characters. The villains would never care how Wonder Woman sees them, because she's the hero, she's the enemy to them. But for some reason, Harley is looking to impress her? Why? The Suicide Squad would not look up to Wonder Woman, and Lex Luthor would not compliment and praise Wonder Woman like some social justice fanboy. But the writers made all of that the case anyway. She's treated with dignity, and the rest of the league are not. And what else could it be? If it was bad writing, then they would have done Wonder Woman dirty as well. But Wonder Woman conveniently is written with the utmost care, and the rest of the guys on the team are not. So what else could it be other than these writers going in with the mentality of women good, men bad? So treat the female characters with respect, but the men like the dogs that you put down. It's the same with other movies that kill off the iconic male characters with no care. It negatively impacted those franchises. I don't know why they didn't think it would negatively impact this one too. Ideally, I would have wanted them to treat the Justice League equally, and if anyone got special treatment, it would be Batman. Because without him, this Arkham universe wouldn't exist. Neither would some of the best and most revolutionary games in comic book history, 2 of which got Game of the Year awards. Also, what sense does it make that the Suicide Squad honor Wonder Woman in her final moments, even though they don't know her, but they pee on the Flash, even though he tried to save them twice? I mean, he saved Harley from being killed by Batman, which led to him getting captured. You'd think that Harley would at least give him respect and tell Boomerang not to pee on him, but she doesn't care. Instead, she just salutes the size of Boomerang's package and proceeds to let him do it. But when Wonder Woman is dying, suddenly she does care.
It should have...
Don't try to talk.
It should have killed him. He'll recover. Be prepared.
Shark, help me carry her in. We got medics inside.
You went out like you lived, doll. Looking sharp. And never listening to us.
And Wonder Woman did nothing but crap talk them throughout most of the game and get in their way. Honestly, even Captain Boomerang didn't piss on the Flash as much as the sexist man-hating writers did. This is uncomfortable, it's not funny, and at that point, it makes you question why the writers even did it. It just feels like they are being irreverent to the character. They even disrespect Green Lantern. When he dies, his ring doesn't fly off like it's supposed to locate a suitable replacement. Instead, King Shark just amputates his finger and takes it. This just shows that these activist writers don't even know the material they are adapting, because that's not how the Lantern's ring works. But it's like they just don't care. But they'll mollycoddle Wonder Woman to her dying breath, and as for the rest, f*** them. Why are they so dead set on destroying a video game world that had the perfect opportunity to grow and expand the Arkhamverse going forward? What was all this damage done for? Just so they could make games around 4 villains that Batman and the rest of the league could have easily defeated in their sleep.
Why do so many companies insist on shitting on their own legacy? You know why I think that companies insist on shitting on their own legacy? This is my opinion. I think it's the ego of the writers to think that they can do a better job than the people that came before them that wrote the games that they're basing their career off of. So it's like they want to kill off the old characters so they can then make their characters the main story. Because, and like, I get it, right? It's like you don't want to kind of ride somebody else's horse, but I would even argue that, like, if you don't want to ride somebody else's horse, you don't want to carry on that legacy, then why the fuck are you working at a company that makes video games about Batman?
It very much could be an ego thing. I mean, a lot of divisions are like that. Look at what Kathleen Kennedy tried to do to Lucasfilm once she became CEO of the company. She tried to disrespectfully replace George Lucas's characters with her own copy and paste versions, and she was apparently going to do the same thing with Indiana Jones as well. And even when Mark Hamill tried to give them ideas, they just ignored him and pushed him off to the side.
You discovered Luke obviously is a hermit on this island. There's so much unsaid about where he's been and what he's done. I still made it up myself. And, you know, I tried to show it to JJ, and he, you know, was accommodating, but basically patted me on the head, gave me a cookie, and made me go away.
So this kind of ego completely adds up. Like I said before, this mediocre story would have been far more acceptable if it was told as an Elseworld story. But setting it in the Arkhamverse, a franchise that excelled at masterful cinematic storytelling and character development, turns this mediocre story into a terrible one. And making retcons to already established characters, events, and stories, that really just shows what an ego the new activist storytellers at Rocksteady had when they made this game. Batman was treated as no more than a throwaway plot device, and not the legendary character with a fantastic 15-year legacy in the Arkham games. In conclusion, Batman's death scene is the perfect visual metaphor for how the new Rocksteady regime brutally took over from the old regime.
You had a good run, Brucey. Flying around Gotham, punching bad guys, cleaning up the streets. It's our turn now. Time for us bad guys to save the world.
And with that, the hostile takeover was complete. So, what do you think of my take to fix Batman in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? And do you have a better idea as to what they could have done? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. And be sure to check out my Patreon, where I have a range of perks, as well as a newly added commissions level where you can request movies and TV show reviews, as well as versus videos of your choosing. Thank you very much as always for watching, everyone, and Captain Eric will see all of you next time. Take care.